So today we'll be getting into the news about a big rumored outbreak among WWE's roster, some Vince McMahon related news, and one storyline that Drew McIntyre ripped apart. Let's start off with a big story that can affect the entire WWE product right now, and that's the newly reported outbreak among WWE superstars. Outbreaks amongst sports organizations is not anything new at all. The last few weeks, there has been absolute chaos for the NFL, NBA, and others. Star players, coaches, staff, and more are all going down with positive results. And it's obviously affected their product because their star power have to miss time until they're cleared. So all the big sports organizations have all been dealing and battling with their outbreaks for a while now. But reports now claim that WWE is battling their own massive outbreak amongst the roster. What made these outbreak reports come to life was all the missing names from this weekend's WWE live events. Big stars that were previously advertised for the show, such as Roman Reigns, Big E, Seth Rollins, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and more, were all pulled from the show at the last second, leading everyone to put the pieces together themselves that every superstar that was pulled from the show was either positive or was exposed. The only one that confirmed their positive status was Seth Rollins, who took to Twitter to announce that he was positive. And if that's true, that could explain Becky Lynch's absence. She's in the same household as Seth, so that obviously counts as exposure. All these names that were either positive or exposed are all major WWE names that have huge matches coming up in just a few days at day one. So what in the world is going to happen there? Well, every sports organization has their own protocols, but the NFL has a system where a positive testing player can come out of health and safety protocols depending on symptoms and other tests that they must pass to get clearance to return. A positive testing player in the NFL can return to action within the same week of testing positive, depending if they can pass all those tests. So no one knows what WWE's protocols are, it's all very secretive. But assuming that it's like the NFL or even similar in any way, maybe it'll be possible for all those stars to get clearance in the same week of testing positive and a return in time for day one. WWE needs everyone that was missing from these live events. When Sasha missed SummerSlam, they were able to cover it up with Becky's return. But this time around, nearly everyone is missing, and it's going to be extremely difficult to fill in all these missing pieces. If Seth and Big E remain out, well, there goes your WWE Championship match. If Becky remains out, there goes the Raw Women's title match. And most of all, if Roman remains out, there goes your main event of the night. So it's a pretty scary situation that's really threatening a majority of the day one card. These superstars and WWE have a few days to recover and get everything right before their first big event of 2022. It's not only the superstars, but reports claim that backstage personnel and producers are also falling positive. So it sounds like absolute chaos right now, especially when you need everyone back for the show in less than a week away. If these big superstars can't get cleared in a couple of days, what's going to happen? WWE is going to need a handful of replacements if all these superstars can't make it to day one. So we'll see how that story continues to unfold in the coming days. Vince McMahon is back in the news for a couple of stories. His first story being the on-screen storyline with Austin Theory. Vince McMahon is continuing to make short cameo appearances for his meetings with Austin Theory. Austin accidentally stole Vince McMahon's expensive gift at Survivor Series, but all was forgiven and they've been working extremely close with each other ever since. Vince McMahon has been giving him advice and trying to correct some of Austin Theory's weaknesses. Austin has listened to Vince McMahon's advice during the last few weeks, and he even continued to go into Vince's office to see how he's doing. Vince McMahon seems impressed so far, and has been continuing to book matches for Austin Theory on screen. Now, where is this story going, and what's the payoff? It's extremely hard to tell. Maybe they don't even have a clue either, because it doesn't really feel like it has a direction to it right now. Austin Theory is just trying to impress Vince McMahon. That's the entire story so far. Not much going on there besides that. Maybe Vince McMahon eventually comes out to ringside for an Austin Theory match. That'll be a pretty big deal for Vince to come out like that. Maybe Vince McMahon grants him another WWE Championship match. Maybe the payoff is Austin Theory becoming WWE Champion after listening to Vince McMahon. Who knows? But this seems to be a storyline that's sticking around on Raw. So we'll have to see where this all is leading towards in the near future. In other Vince McMahon related news, Vince's Connecticut mansion is currently being listed for sale for $32 million. Vince had purchased the property back in 2014 for only $11 million. So if he does find a buyer, he's making a lot of profit off that investment that he made in that property. The last Vince McMahon story is in regards to a SmackDown main roster call-up. You may recall the appearance of NXT's Von Wagner as Adam Pearce's bodyguard on SmackDown. Following Brock Lesnar's attack on him, Adam Pearce showed up the following week with an intimidating Von Wagner standing over his shoulder. We only saw Von and Pearce together for a handful of minutes on SmackDown that week, but it appeared that Von was going to be a bodyguard or enforcer for Pearce. But fast forward 1 week later and Von was gone, without explanation given by anyone. Reports claim that it was Vince McMahon who put a stop to the main roster call-up because he no longer liked it. This is a bit of a small issue because why didn't they think of this over before having Von appear on SmackDown? It goes back to the whole topic of insulting the audience's intelligence. You show us this big new bodyguard for Adam Pearce 1 week, and then the following week he's gone, and we're supposed to act like we never saw him. That's the part that gets a bit annoying and why you can never get so invested in something because it can be dropped out of nowhere with zero explanation. So that's the part of this that is very unfortunate. Why not think of it before you put him on screen? Because to put him on screen and then remove him just leaves your audience confused and asking questions. Drew McIntyre is gearing up for a big Universal title feud with Roman Reigns later in 2022. We've been seeing a lot of seeds for that feud, but Drew was recently a guest on WWE's The Bump and trashed a WWE storyline. The storyline that Drew trashed was the anonymous GM storyline. This was a storyline in 2010 where the traditional GM role was replaced with a GM that wanted to remain anonymous and would only communicate with superstars through a laptop that Michael Cole read emails off of. It was very weird and strange. Superstars couldn't go up to the GM about requesting matches because the GM was literally a laptop. And to make the storyline even worse, the payoff was abysmal. It was revealed that Hornswoggle was the GM this entire time and was hiding under the ring with the laptop. So the entire anonymous GM story was pretty lazy, and the payoff was one of the most disappointing payoffs of all time. Drew McIntyre wasn't a fan of that storyline either and had this to say about it, quote, "That was a bloody joke. Don't be encouraging such nonsense. Absolutely nobody wants the anonymous GM back." End quote. As of current day WWE, we still don't have a proper GM, but we do have two WWE officials, Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville, who still basically portray the GM role. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments, don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.